All right, it's loading right now. And we are live. And then start recording on this computer. All right, ladies, we are live. You guys ready?
Ready.
All right, let's do this. What's up, everybody? We are live. Welcome to another session of the Double Cloud Podcast. You guys already know who I am. My name is Will. I am the host of this show. For everybody out there tuning in for the very first time, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. For everybody out there that like and subscribe to my channel, support my channel, thank you so much for all the love and support. So if you love the content, love the show, you guys already know what to do. Smash that like and subscribe button. All right, we do this show every single weekend. So if you want to tune in for every single show, smash that like and subscribe button so you guys can be notified every single week. Don't forget, we are talking about modern day dating, sex, and relationships. So this is a mature conversation podcast for a mature audience. I do have a disclaimer real quick for everybody out there under the age of 18.
This content is not suitable for the children under the age of 18 without adult supervision.
All
Please
right,
be
so
advised.
don't forget, if you're under the age of 18, you need supervision, or if you don't have supervision, you need to take your ass to bed. All right. Don't forget, we do have the live chat for everybody out there. So you guys already know what to do. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know your feedback. Let me know your opinions. We're going to talk about a variety of different hot topics tonight. The ladies have something prepared for us tonight, their topics and their questions. But I'm always interested in the conversation, open dialogue. So let me know what your thoughts are. It's always fun and hilarious, and also interested to hear what you guys think. Be part of the show. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you think on the live chat. Don't forget, this is a public show. So if you guys want to be part of the conversation, I'm always open for dialogue, whether we agree or disagree. I know there's a lot of people out there that oftentimes get triggered.
How dare you?
About things I say on here, that's from my perspective. But like I told you guys before, I'm always willing to listen and to have a conversation to understand you. So if you want to be part of the conversation, I'm going to post the link on the live chat. Click on the link and be part of the show. Just be respectable, respect the guest, the platform, and me, and be able to have the conversation and be part of the show. Don't forget, we do have the super chat donations. So everybody out there that wants to super chat and donate to my channel, so really support me with your pockets. Go ahead and drop a super chat donation. Don't forget, the best way to get the best out of your money and for me to reciprocate it back to you, ask it through a question, ask it through a topic. So if you're watching this show and you want to ask us a specific question or bring up a specific topic that you guys want me and the ladies to answer live on the show to you because you want to hear our answer, ask it through a super chat donation, and I'll make that a priority. And I'll be able to respond and answer live on the show to reciprocate your donation. So for everybody out there that always donate to my channel, much love to you. You guys are the real heroes. You guys are the best. All right. But that's pretty much it. That's all my YouTube stuff. So you guys already know, let's get this show going. I'm going to have some beautiful ladies on the panel tonight. And we have some ladies jumping on later tonight on the show. So ladies, I'm going to ask you guys real quick. Go ahead and introduce yourselves real quick. What's your name? How old are you? What do you do, and what is your relationship status? I'll start with you, Liv. Go ahead and introduce yourself real quick.
Okay, I'm Liv DeLeon from Austin, Texas, and I'm a branch manager for a staffing company by day, and I also own a motivational women's brand called Live Her Way, and I am 42, and I'm married.
All right, nice. All right, thank you so much, Liv, for joining us tonight. We'll go into Qaze. I hope I got that right.
Yes, Qaze. So, hi guys. So my name is Qaze. I am 25 years old. I'm single. I work in a tech company called pdq.com. And then I also do my photography business on the side. And so you can follow my Instagram at Qaze Photography, which is QAZE and then photography. So yeah, I mean, I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah. So I originally actually was from Alaska. So I just moved to Utah last year.
All right, no worries. All right, so for you in 801, is it the 801, right?
Yes, it's 801. Yep.
All right, so fellas, you know 801, you know what to do. She's single. Just joking. All right, no worries, ladies. Thank you so much for jumping on tonight's show. I'm definitely gonna drop all their social media links on the description at the bottom of the video. So if you guys want to support them and seek them out, please do. They do great stuff on their own social media panels as well. So, but ladies, let's get right into it. I have the very first question, the topic I want to bring up, and we're gonna go right into it. So I hope you guys ready. I have a spicy question for you guys. So I know we were talking a little bit before before we went live. We were talking about the hookup culture today, right? So today, modern dating is totally different from the traditional dating culture where our parents came from. So modern day dating, 2022 is all about casual dating, hookup culture, casual sex. So a lot of times on social media, a lot of women they always talk about going through a whole phase before they take a man seriously and get locked down and get married. So that's my that's my question. That's my question to ask you guys. I'm against the whole phase. I think it's detrimental to women in order for them to not only build relationships with men, but also I think it also hurts their sexual value in the dating marketplace to attract a quality man. If men know that you've been promiscuous and being a hoe. So that's my thoughts on it. But I want to hear you ladies, what are your thoughts on it today? Should women go through a whole phase? What are your thoughts? And let me know what you guys think. I'll start with Qaze, all the way from Utah.
All the way from Utah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
Yeah,
you're
ahead.
good. It's actually a very interesting question that you brought it up, because I did have my whole phase, and I feel like girls who go or women who goes through their whole phase, I feel like they usually do it after like a really, really hard breakup, because like like when you experience a hard breakup, it's like you're like, I don't want to go through that. Like maybe I just want to have fun and do whatever, but also like be free and not have to commit to anyone. And I feel like that's why I went through that whole phase, and it was a little bit hard to get out of that whole phase, but I feel like I just needed to experience it, and so that I actually, it's not just sleeping with guys. I feel like it's more of understanding who you are as a person, because I feel like it's not just sleeping around. It's more like going on dates and feeling, to look for guys and what you actually want, and like to actually notice like cues, how to read people, how to read like your social environment where you're at as well. So I think it's fine for some people, and I feel like some girls do need it, but at the same time, I feel like if it's not necessary, you shouldn't have to.
Okay. So I have a question. Like, what's like I guess like downside from having a whole phase? Do you feel like that affected you emotionally, in your ability to connect with men? Because oftentimes when I meet women who have gone through a whole phase, a lot of them have this mistrust or this toxic energy towards men. Like they always have this mentality that it's never gonna work out. The guy's gonna cheat on me because of all the previous men that they've been through. So like they put all this extra baggage towards the next guy, and the next guy they date could be a good guy. It's just because of all their bad experiences they've gone through with men, it kind of like hinders their ability to bond and really trust a man, and they end up self-sabotaging themselves in the relationship, and always look for the worst qualities just because of all those other men that happened in the past. So that's just my like experience into it. But I want to ask you, like, when you went through your whole phase, did you notice anything that kind of like negative or a con or a repercussion or consequence from just going through that?
I think I did a little bit, but then I also like, I think I also noticed like how not to like be like think so negative of that thought. I felt like I wanted to be on like the other side of like feeling kind of like understanding, coming from like, like how is it possible that people are able to do this, and then noticing, and also like it actually going through my whole phase actually helped me to notice, like to be a little bit more straightforward, to actually know what I actually want, and like to know how to like set boundaries and know how to say no. Because I feel like like there are some women who are innocent before going through their whole phase, and they don't like they experience these type of emotions and feelings where like it's like they don't know how to communicate that. And I feel like when I went through my whole phase, I picked up like cues, and I noticed that like, oh, if I, this is, I understand like it's emotionally like I'm like there are some, something that I did pick up, and I'm like, oh, okay. But then like after a while, I realized and I noticed that like it's not like a good like attribute to have or a good personality to have. And so it kind of like helped me change and be a better person actually. So
Yeah, well, you say you learned some cues. Like, what were those cues that you did you learn?
like like when guys like sometimes guys take no, like they can't take no for an answer, and you just got to be like a little bit more passive in a way, and it's just sometimes it's like that, or it's like where like guys want a certain thing and you're gonna like, oh, that's actually not what I want, or like, this is what I want, and like if you can't like, if that's not what you agree, then maybe it won't work out. Or like, oh no, it's like there's no strings attached, just that's it, and like you're done deal, and then you just go, and it's like picking up like cues, like knowing when a guy like, oh, this is just probably going to be a one night stand, or like, oh, like this is what he wants more, but he's actually not, he's like not lying, but like put it in a way where like he's not saying it straightforward.
Did you ever like catch feelings, like you went through, because I know the whole phase you were just going out there just having fun and going through your one night stands, but did you ever like run into a guy that like you were actually interested in him and you wanted like a long-term relationship with them? Like, did that ever happen?
It did, but then like, I put myself in a position like I'm like, it wasn't what we both originally wanted, so why would I want to put myself, I feel like you kind of have to have a really strong mindset in order to like go through, I don't know, some like your whole phase in a way. And so like my mindset when I went through that was like, I just wanted to have fun. And so like when I did when I did find that, guy that was interested in me, and like, I'm like, oh, this potentially could be like if I wanted more. But then I think back and I realized that, I, that guy isn't here for like a long-term relationship. So why do I want to put myself through that when I initially don't wanted to do that in the first place? It was just like supposed to be like a one-time thing.
Okay. Did you communicate it to the guy, or you just kept that within yourself?
Yeah. So I think when you're going through that, I feel like there are some guys who actually are, very understanding, and they communicate pretty good, and so like they will tell you what they want, and then you would tell them what you want. But there are some guys that don't know what they want, and they would just say whatever to please you, and then I feel like you just gotta put your foot down and just say it. Yeah.
Okay. You said something that's I think that was very profound, interesting to me. Say, because I do notice a lot of women would say this, like, when they go through a breakup, then like they say that it's part of the healing process is to go through a whole phase, right? And for me, I don't think that's that's just my personal opinion. I don't think it's like the best way and the healthiest way to respond to a breakup, because you brought up a great point. Like, you finally met a guy that you were interested in, but then because of you going through a whole phase, you weren't able to even to initiate contact and build a relationship with him just because of the phase you're going into. So I see that for me like a con. Like, eventually you're gonna meet somebody you really, really like, but then you really want to have it, and there might be an opportunity. He may be a future husband, but because you're going through that phase, and I believe that doesn't really help you, because I believe like if you're going through shit in life, I think that's a time to step back and self-reflect and look within yourself and spend some time alone to figure out what happened in the past, the things you can learn. But going out there and putting yourself out there, like being open, and allowing certain people in your life that may not be beneficial, I think there's a lot of risks in that. Like, what are your thoughts about that? Do you think it's still, like, looking back at it now, do you think it's not the healthiest way for women to respond to breakups, is to go through a whole phase, or do you think it's better just to take a step back? You know what? Let me spend some time alone and go through some healing and some self-improvement before going back out there to the dating market.
I feel like, because we're we all have our different journey in life. And looking back, for me personally, I think it helped me out a lot. But then for a different woman, it might be different. But then again, I feel like it's a very hard it's very hard to navigate when you go through your whole phase, or to quit and know when to stop and stuff. I feel like, but then you also learn a lot. And then some people, I feel like it's not good for women, for certain women. I feel like if you're not up for a little bit challenge, because being going through a whole phase, it's to other people it might not look good, but I feel like some women, it potentially could help some women, and but then again,
in what way
I'm
it
not
helps
that
someone?
right. Every breakup is different for everybody, and so I mean, I know for a fact that some of my friends don't agree on going through a whole phase, which I totally respect and I totally understand. And I feel like that's their opinion, that's their way of handling things. And I mean, I've done and I've tried to do things alone, and I feel like it's different. It's hard for some people to just step back and deal with things doing alone, and some people just like doing things head on and just going out and actually just want the experience or do it. And for me personally, yeah, I look back and it was not a very good idea, but then then I think about it, I don't regret going through that, is because it helped me personally. And it might be a different journey for other people going through that. It might be really bad for them. And I feel like going through a whole phase, you kind of have to sort of set boundaries. You kind of have to know what to do. I feel like if you're just going into it blindly, then you might get hurt along the way. But I feel like if you know what you're getting yourself into, then it's not as hurtful. It's not as painful if you're going through that.
What did you do specifically to make sure that, what kind of boundaries? You said boundaries. What were those boundaries that you put in to make sure you didn't get hurt going through a whole phase?
So some of my boundaries that I actually set up was I made sure that if I were to go on dates, I made sure that I know a little bit more about the guy who I'm going on that date with. And then I feel like on that date, you can it's like a gut instinct. You kind of have to feel the vibe. If you don't feel it, then just leave. And you kind of have to be straightforward with the person. This is what I want. And if you don't want that, then this it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. If it's gonna be a one night stand, then just say, hey, there's gonna be a one night stand. That's it. I feel like you kind of need to know how to control your emotions, your feelings, and kind of hold back on your feelings. Because I feel like when you do those one night stand or do friends with benefit, you kind of have to set your emotion, your feelings on a different level, and not being way too attached. Because I feel like some people, they think that they know oh, I'm not going to be attached to this person if I decide to do friends with benefit, or if I decide to have a one night stand. And I feel like you just need to prepare yourself emotionally before even going into this kind of journey. So
all right, no worries. And sorry, last question before I pass it on to Liv. How did the men treat you? The type of men you attracted? Because I oftentimes when I talk to women who've gone through a whole phase, I see there's a pattern of certain men that they attract, and a lot of times it's just it's not quality men. So the men did you attract? What was the one that would call you? Did they treat you? How did they treat you? Was it poor? Was it good? Were they assholes? Were they just saw you as a hoe?
I think there's only been two guys that I met that were assholes, that were jerks and didn't treat me good. But other than that, the other men, they were quality, good quality men, where I'm wow, it's but then again, I'm like, oh, this is just going to be a one-time thing. Like, I shouldn't, put myself in that position. So I did meet a lot of good quality men, and like the way how they treat me was really great. But then it was at that time, it just wasn't what I wanted, like what they can provide me, if they wanted something more. It just wasn't what I wanted at that time. And so that was pretty much it.
All right, no worries. All right, thank you, Qaze, for sharing your thoughts on it. I'm gonna give a special shout out to Fatty with the super chat donation, even though you're already here. you just jumped on the last show with us. But I want to give you a special shout out for the super chat donation. I want to read it real quick. You learn who you are by not by sleeping around. And I give a shout out to Get Lost with this with that person's chat donation. And there's no comment. Just keep it up. Thank you. Hey, Claudia, is that your background noise, or is that,
I think it's Gita.
Oh, Gita. Okay, I just have to mute her. All right, no worries. All right, Qaze, thank you for answering your thoughts on it. I'm gonna pass it on to and also everybody out that's watching this right now. If you love the content, I see people going off in the live chat. Press that like and subscribe button, and also let me know what your thoughts are. And also, if you want to be part of the conversation, to add to the convo, jump on the live Zoom. I already posted it on the live chat. Gita, I see you on there. If you want to be part of the conversation, you do have to turn the camera on, and so I can see you. We have to see who you are to have this conversation with you. But I'm gonna pass it on to Liv. Liv, go ahead. What are your thoughts? Do you believe that women should go through a whole phase?
I mean, I'm happy to say that I've been out the game for a while now. But I do feel like I've been, so I'm kind of conflicted on the whole phase, like the whole terminology of that, because I feel like when I was younger and I would go through, a bad relationship, I feel like she was right. You do kind of roll into your whole phase if you getting out of a bad relationship. Sometimes it happens at that time. But I'm kind of conflicted because how come we can't just be grown-ass women and sleep with who we want to when we want to, just like men do? Like, that's why I'm conflicted with the whole terminology of hoe phase. But it's called a hoe phase because, women are doing it, but it's not called a hoe phase when men are doing it. Like, I don't get that, it has, now it's not like they do say men, have a hoe phase too, but back then when I was dating, it was only veered towards the women. So I'm kind of conflicted on the whole thing. And I do feel like when I was younger, like, yeah, if I was single and I just wanted to go out and like if I was meeting up with somebody or friends with benefits or whatever it may be, and you're just grown and you have, consensual young adult sex, it should be fine. And I don't feel like it ruins you. However, I have been in bad relationships when I was younger. And I do feel like at some point you get into where you, I guess, kind of feel vulnerable sometimes and you just want company, but sometimes it can lead into, a worse relationship, something that you didn't, mean to happen. So I do feel like boundaries should be set. You should go into it knowing what you want. And I don't feel like it's all bad, but I do feel like you should do self-healing as well. And I learned that later on. You don't have to go from man to man. You do need to, do some, your shadow work and healing and all of that. I do feel like you have to do all of that to be able to be a better person for who you come into your next relationship with, so that you don't take all that baggage with you.
Okay. All right. No worries. All right. Yeah. Thank you for responding to Liv and Claudia and Gita. About it, I'm gonna ask you guys to respond to the question as well and respond to the guest. I do. Qaze, do you have a response to anything Liv said, or Liv, do you have anything want to respond to what Qaze said? Want to give you guys an opportunity.
No, I mean, I agree with Liv. I mean, like, why I said like going through a whole phase, like that, the terminology, that's actually very true. I mean, like, because I'm a little bit younger than Liv, and so I, you know, I my like whole different whole phase. I mean, people go through stuff, but like whole phase doesn't necessarily mean you're sleeping with a lot of people. It can just be making out. It can just be meeting, going out on dates, and it's just a lot more like you're meeting a lot more guys than you typically would meet if you're just going on like regular dates.
Yeah. Okay. All right. No worries. Yeah. Just to respond to what Liv said, because I know Liv, you said that like, why is a whole phase different for a man and a woman, right? Right. And then why is it frowned upon when women do it, but then it's congratulated when a man does it? You know, the answer to that question is really simple, and I know a lot of people don't want, you know, this is maybe hard to swallow, but the thing is, men and women, we're different, right? We're different. So we can't compare, it's like comparing apples and oranges. So that's why it's different when a man does it and different when a woman does it. So for men, the thing is, we have different things that what men and women are sexually attracted to and look for in a relationship. So the reason why, number one, it's seen down upon when women do it is because men, they actually, you know, we care about a woman's history. We care about a woman's sexual past. That's one of the things men prioritize when they come to select a long-term partner. And you said it, you're absolutely right. Any woman out there that wants to be a hoe and wants to choose to make those choices for her life, like, hey, that's your choice as a woman. That's fine. And if you want to do that for your life, hey, that's your choice. Go ahead and do it. But there are consequences to your choices. So if you want to go down that route, one of the risks and one of the downsides to it is you're gonna repulse a lot of men and detract a lot of men, especially the men that are good quality and the men that want to take you serious long-term for commitment. Because for men, that's what because we're different, that's what we care about, especially when it comes to a woman. And especially, and then for a man, in order for him to like sleep around, like he has to build his life, he has to build some type of value. So like he can't just be like an average bum and sleep around and be able to sleep around with multiple women, because for women, you guys are very sexual selective on who you choose. You guys only want to choose like the best men you can get. So usually the guys that are hoes or man whores, you know, usually they've done something in their life to improve, like whether they have game, whether they have some kind of money, they have status that affords them the ability to be able to sleep around. But for women, you don't really have to self-improve, because men just want sex. They just want that JJ. So like a woman, like you could be doing terrible with your life as a woman, but a man will still sleep with you, right? So the thing is, for men, we understand that we have to work in order to get sexual access. But for women, you don't have to do any kind of effort for men to have sex with you. So for a lot of men, when they see women that don't have discipline to be able to say these men to say no, it's kind of like disgusting. It's kind of like, ugh. Like, because they understand that you don't have to do anything as a woman to be able to allow a man to have sex with you. So we're just two different, so we see things differently, what we're attracted to differently. And that's why oftentimes, that's why like for men, when a man is a hoe, he's like, if he has game, if he's attractive, he's 6 foot, he's handsome, he has money. You know, the thing is, for most women, the things that they like about a man are the very things that he has to do in order to sleep with multiple women. So those guys are out there, and just be honest, like I want to put it out there in context. There's only a small minority of men that can be man whores. Like not many men can do it. Most men have to can only afford like 1 or 2 women or 3 women in their life. There's only a small minority of men out there that can be able to be promiscuous and sleep with multiple women. And the things that they have to do in order to be like that are what women like. They like tall, handsome men. They like guys with money. They like guys with social status. They like guys with game, sweet talkers, know how to talk to women. So because women don't care about a man's sexual history, they care about a man's future. So that's why women will overlook a guy's past, because as long as a man can bring stability to her life and future, and a financial future and stability, they don't care about a man's past. But for men, we're different. We don't care about what you can provide for me, because that's what I'm going to do as a man. What we do care about is your sexual history, because we're very territorial. It's within our masculine nature as men. It's biological down to the root. It's in our DNA. Like we don't want to be with a woman that's being slept around with other men because there is a risk of paternity. Like we have to like, is that gonna be my child if that woman has a multiple men? So we care about making sure that we want to make sure that that's our child. So it's better. It's for men. It's like we have a better chance and more secure probability of making sure it's my child if I'm with a woman that's not slept around. But this woman's been around multiple men. We understand, like I told you guys before, there's gonna be a lot of trauma, a lot of baggage that I have to deal. So for all those men in her past, so I have to end up taking that baggage and have to deal and have to do that for her and fix her up from all the men. So that's like another issue and complexity. And then also we're not attracted to that. So like I told you guys before, men and women, it's up to you. What do you do for your life? But there's consequences. There's a reason why you're seeing a lot of videos and music videos and a lot of men out there like, we don't want hoe. Like no men. That's why there's that cliche quote, men don't, you can't turn a hoe into a housewife. Men, they want a wife. They want a wife. They don't want to marry a hoe. So that's just what men want. So like as a woman, if you want to be a hoe, that's fine. That's your choice. I'm not judging. But just understand it's going to hurt your value in the real world. When you go out there in the real world, you're trying to meet good quality men that want to take you seriously, men that want to take the responsibility to put a roof over your head, take care of your kids, give you a future. Because men, we care about your history, and that's one of the problems you're going to run into. So like I said, there's consequences to everything in life, whatever you do. Unfortunately, there's not much of a consequence when a man is like a man whore, but there, except the consequence of meeting toxic women and getting STDs and all that stuff. So I'm also against men doing that also, but unfortunately in the real world, it's different. What are your thoughts, Liv?
I had some thoughts, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
She was writing. I saw she was writing.
I know she was writing. Yeah.
So my question to you is, are we only talking about a quality man? And for the small percentage that you said that can get women or can sleep around with a lot of women, that percent of man, are they allowed to find love later on? Is everybody supposed to not have a past, is what I'm asking? And are your past not to be, are you supposed to be judged by your past in relationships? And I also feel like a lot of women, some come with baggage, but men come with baggage too nowadays. You can't find a lot of men who don't have children or don't come with toxic relationships or baby mamas or crazy ex-girlfriends or anything like that. So I feel like it can't really be, projected just on the woman. I have a past. My husband has a past. And later on, years later down the road, we found each other. We have a blended family. There's never been any hate towards anything. And he's accepted my children as I accepted his, and we work. So I just kind of I'm agreeing to disagree with what you're saying on that part.
Wait, so you were a single mom before you met your husband?
Yes, but I wasn't a single mom who needed, I'm not saying that I was I made a way for my children. I wasn't struggling or anything like that. So and my children can attest to that. So it's just hard for me to agree with what you're saying.
No, I know, I understand, where you're coming from, because you have a situation that you went through the whole phase and you were still able to find a good quality man, right, for you. But because we're talking about the modern dating culture overall, we're talking in generality. For the average woman, most women, especially women who are promiscuous and women who end up becoming single moms, a lot of them statistically, they don't end up getting married. I think the last time I looked up the statistics, 50% of women who are single moms in America right now, 50% of them have never been married their whole life, right? And 30% of them fail in their divorce, they get divorced. And then 20% are widowed or out of another situation. So 80% of the women who are single moms or have past relationships with men, and it ends up failing. And they also did there was a study out there. Also, they did a study on women who had sex at a very young age, and then very promiscuous, and then women who actually saved for later on or had lower sexual partners. What they found when they did a study with the women out there that had multiple sexual partners at age, they struggled with committing to men. They struggled with finding attraction, commitment from men, and they also found themselves hard for them to be able to trust a man and build a relationship and bond with a man. But like I told you guys before, like as women, you guys are very emotional, expressive. For you guys to be able to have sex with a man, you have to build an emotional connection with him to some degree. For the average, for most guys, sex is just physical. Like it's just a fuck, and then we move on. There's no like, of course, there's men out there. I'm just saying, of course, there's men out there that have to emotional connect. But when guys have looking for sex, it's all physical. So that's why for a lot of men, they can have sex and then move on with that. When he's ready to find a good woman, everything is good. But then for a lot of women, the more men you guys have, there's a lot of trauma, a lot of emotional issues that you have to carry with. And that's why a lot of times, a lot of those women, it's hard for them because it's very emotional for you guys. And like I told you guys before, the sexual marketplace, you have to, if you want to go out there, you have to be aware of what the other person was looking for. So unfortunately, for men, we care about, that's the reality for a lot of women. And I have this conversation with my good girlfriends that are, they choose to be promiscuous, and I ain't judging them, but I tell them straight up, you can do whatever you want to do for your life. That's your choice as a woman, but just understand that the good men that you guys want, the ambitious, the confident, assertive, that wants to be loyal, to settle down, good morals, good values, good relationship with God, all these things, all the good men, the good things that you're looking for, these guys are looking for, they don't want to be with a hoe, right? And also the men that the top quality men that they want, they have to understand that they have options. So they have all the women that wanted them as well. So if you come to him and you're a hoe, there's another woman who's just as good as you or as beautiful as you, but she don't have that baggage and she don't have that sexual history. So it's all about options. So naturally he's gonna go with the woman. So it's gonna be really, really hard for you to compete. So are there men out there that's gonna accept you? If you're a hoe, of course. But the thing is for a lot of women, they have to settle, like, because they all want that dream guy that they want in their head. And social media does a great job of like putting that into women's head. Hey, you can get this certain type of guy, 6 feet, income, handsome, whatever. And like I said, it doesn't help you. And that's just the reality. And for men, we care about your sexual history. So like I told you guys before, it's just, there's consequences to it. So if you want to go down that route, like I said, you are able to find your man, and God bless you. You guys have a stable marriage, be married for a long time, and you guys have a good family. But I'm sure you have friends who are single or single moms who are, promiscuous, have been hoes. I don't know, but I'm just saying there's a lot of women out there that have chose that path, right? They chose that path. And you see this in America. They're pushing girls nowadays to have sex at an early age. It's all about sex now. Be hoes, be promiscuous, be independent, do your own thing, have, and that's the narrative they're pushing these women, but they're not giving the reality. And a lot of these women, that's why you see a lot of porn stars. As beautiful as these porn stars are, if you ever do research on it, these porn stars are fucking beautiful women in the world, but no man wants to wife them.
And they get to 30,
like I said,
and they get to 30, and they're the most miserable. They are the most miserable in the world.
Yeah, let's be honest. These porn stars are beautiful, one of the most beautiful women you can see in the world. All these men want to have sex with them, but none of these men want to wife them, because that's just the reality of the difference between women and women. We care about a woman's sexual history and past. So if you want to go down that route, I always tell them, you just understand that there's going to be a consequence. And if you want to take that risk, that's fine, but don't go through that path, make those choices, but then complain about, where are all the good men? Why are these men not attracted me? Because you went down that route. You chose to be a hoe, you chose to go down that route, because there's a lot of girls out there. There's millions and millions of girls out there that are not hoes. So guys are like, you know what? I'm going to have my sex, have my fun too. But when it's time for me to settle down, I'm going to go out there and find the women who are not promiscuous. So it's a competitive market. So before I pass it to you, it's just like I told you before, for men, right? For a man to be promiscuous, like, he has to be good. Men understand he has to be good with talking to women, have game, have money, have status, and that's why for men, there's if you don't learn to be good with a woman, right? The consequence of that is you're not going to have sexual attention for women. So it works out both ways. For a lot of men out there, they want to be bums. They want to play video games all day. They want to have no ambition, have no goals for life. And if you want to do that as a man, that's fine. And I tell men the same thing. Don't complain if you want to be lazy, unambitious, and no woman wants to be with you or take you serious or have sex with you. So that's what women look for, security for a future. So as a man, if you don't make the choices to build a future, don't complain if women don't want to be with you. And for women, we care about your past. So if you go out there and have a past, that's fine. That's your prerogative. That's your choice, but don't complain if none of these men come up to you. So there's consequences to everything, especially in dating, and there's different things that we look for. So, and that's why, like I said, I have to be honest with my friends as well. I tell them straight up, this is what men care about, especially the high quality man. Now, and there's a lot of men out there that they will accept them. They'll take your kids, or they'll accept you being a hoe. But what you find out is when you settle for a person you don't actually want, you're just doing it because that's what's available. Most relationships end up being toxic and don't never work out anyway, because you don't really love that person. You just choose to be with them because that's all you can get. So that's just the reality. I'll pass it to you, Claudio.
I know Liv has a question. I just wanted to give us a little sneak peek, then Liv ask, and then I can talk. But the funny thing is, women understand that most of them lie about their numbers, but they don't understand that if they are married, like 5 years with 2 kids, and they said they had sex only with 3 or 5 guys, if the guy discovers that you had sex with one guy that he wasn't on the list, he's going to rethink all his life and all the lies that because that's the thing. You can do it and you can lie about it. And if you are lucky, you are very lucky. But the analogy I would want to give you before Liv asks is, if I'm a man and I have a homosexual past, I was bisexual and I was sleeping with a lot of guys. I know just from that decision, there's nothing wrong with that, but most women will not marry me because they can find me being choked, being slapped, being the bottom with the other guy. They can stomach that. So the consequences is the same. I can lie about it, but in the future, if my future wife discovers that I had that past, I'm done. I'm really, really done. So on the analogy side, just for you to understand why we think that way, think about it that way. It's not because it's something bad, it's because something that usually repulses the other sex. So we know the consequences, and you guys should know too.
What do you think, Liv, as you want to say? Yeah.
And I agree with what he's saying. And I think with what he was saying is just because if a woman won't marry him after knowing any of that, it's probably because we feel like we can't compete with that. You know what I mean? Like, how do you compete with the sexuality? And I think that's where sometimes they'll back off from it. But as far as like the hoe phase, I know like women can have a hoe phase, but I also know women who can have just a hoe mentality. And it's completely different. And it's just who they are. There's someone who have a phase, and then there's just some women who are just hoes. There's two. It's a difference.
Can I explain why it's different? I can really fast why it's different. It's the same thing. You go to a club and you see one guy on the VIP and 10 women. The 10 women on the VIP can't have the same status as the guy, because the guy, to get there, he had to buy a table, open a lot of the girl just went there. So for you, it's easy. For a guy to have a no face, first of all, he has to be, like Will said, upper level on looks or on money or on status. Women don't. So in my old face, for example, I had to spend a lot of money. I have to give rides to ladies, go to hotel, go to the cinema, go to the bar. There's investment there. I learned game. I learned about my personal hygiene, that I am not a dog. I usually can fuck every single thing. I learned things about me that made a better man for my future wife. Woman, is for them to have sex, there's zero investment. It's the same as going to the street, pick up a rock, put him in the pocket, and go back home. There's no investment. So you can't have the same type of treatment when it's easy. It's like comparing the best hunter on the city that is the best hunter and can get the most food, and the wealthy guy that has a huge fridge with all the food inside, and he looks at the hunter and says, why folks respect you for I have a lot of food, but I have a lot of food too, and nobody respects me? Because he work for that, but women don't. Women don't work for sex, and the power of women in sex and the respect come from self-control. If you are okay with being alone, if you are okay with having self-control, guys will look at you and say, you have a superpower, but instead of utilizing it for evil, you utilize it for good. But when you are just, okay, I'm going to do my own face, nobody will going to judge you on a 21st century type of way. But the problem is when it's relationships, they are going to judge you, because if the number is very high, it's going to look you the other way. And if you lie, there is a capital punishment if he discovers that you lied about your sexual history. So it's just us explaining why you guys shouldn't do that. And just to finish, to let the other guys talk, Qaze talked about her O phase, and to be honest, her O phase for a man can be 5 girls, for some can be 25, for women is the same thing, just out of usual. But like I said, men usually use their O phase as experience, to know how a woman works, to know how they work in bed. Women usually collect trauma. Women usually don't learn how to be better themselves to their men. They usually collect trauma. So when they get to the guy, when they get to their O phase, the reflection that they have, the first thing they do is, oh, now I know what I don't want. I don't want the guy that it's like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, because they had trauma with the past guys, and now they are looking for everything they didn't have on those guys that were just like having sex and going out. So that's the biggest problem to me between the O phase from a man and the O phase from a woman. Men usually use it to get experience. I know some don't, to be honest, but most use for experience. Women just use it to have fun, and normally they are not honest about it. Instead of saying, oh, I just wanted to have fun and now I'm ready, they say, no, I wanted to discover myself. And no, it's just to have fun, and you can tell that. I think it's no problem in that.
Yeah.
Can I speak?
Yeah, something to say. Yeah, go ahead, Liv. Go Liv.
I'm just trying to, I'm trying to find the understanding in that, like you don't think that men collect trauma from it either. I feel like they do. And I also feel like saying that just because a man invested and spent money and bought a table, that the woman doesn't have to work for it. A woman's self-worth too is, just because she's having a whole face doesn't mean that she knows her self-worth. She might find it later, but our body is expensive. Like our body is our self-worth. So you can't tell me that that's our body isn't worth more than buying a table and having money and all of that.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question real fast?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you and Qaze wanted to have sex with another guy right now, how many minutes do you think it will take for you to send a message, say, I'm home alone, come here, and the guy in 30 minutes is going to get, how many minutes would you think it will last? It's easy for you. It's very easy. For us, I can just go on my, I have to court you. I have to talk you. Did you guys any time in your life try to get out of the friend zone? Men usually try to fancy and try to jump over the friend zone and try to wiggle themselves around. That's experience. You guys don't have to do that. That's why I think it's different.
So I have a question for the ladies. So Liv, like, if Qaze, if you met a man, random man today, and he wants to have sex with you, would you be able to have sex with him and you like them? Just he's like, hey, he's actually attractive, good looking. He walks up to you and is like, hey, I like you, let's have sex. Would you be able to have sex with him at that moment?
There's more than what entails. I feel like it's not all just like going through your whole phase. It's not just all about like having sex or having fun. I feel like that's why I said you have to know your boundaries. Like, yeah, a guy can come up and say, hey, I mean, he may be good looking and all that, but there's more than just saying, oh yeah, I'll have sex with you. It's more than just the yes. I feel like there's like a line when like, it's like, if I'm gonna have sex with you, this like it just has to be a little bit more than what I see on your outer appearance. Because I mean, like, I mean, to any woman, like, I can have any guy who I want, right? Or same thing for guys. I can have any woman, but then
it's not the same. That's the thing. It's not the same thing. You can. We don't.
Because
we can.
When you want to, like, you can't just say yes. There's more than what saying yes, because there is just more.
All right.
I mean, I just don't feel like even when guys like they dish out the money and they buy the tables and all that, some of that, like, that stuff is not impressive to a lot of girls.
I know, but they have to work for the money.
But what, see, that proves my point, right? Because the difference between men and women, like, you can meet a very attractive guy, the guy that you're attracted to, but you still want more than the money, than the fame, than the status. But what you're saying is you want an emotional connection first before you have sex, and that's why I was telling you that's the difference between men. If a man meets a woman he's sexually attracted to and wants to have sex with, and she tells him, "Hey, let's go, let's do it," right? He's gonna go do it. He doesn't need that emotional connection. He's gonna do it for the average guy. Of course, are there men out there that need connection? Yes, but if you're talking about men who are very masculine, like for average man, we don't need that connection. Like, you guys just said it right now. We just, if I'm attracted to a woman, she comes up to me, gives me the green light and consent, I'm like, we're finding a car, we're finding an alleyway, we're finding a place, we're finding some place. Let's get it on. I don't need that connection. I don't need to get to know you, because I want sex, and that's the difference between men. And also, I do want to, and that's why you did say you live, like, just because you went through your whole phase doesn't mean that later on in life that you're not a respectable woman with self-worth or self-value. You're not a good woman, which you're absolutely right. But I think what a lot of women conflate and confuse, they confuse their personal value with their sexual market value. Your personal value as a human being, you're a fucking great human being. I'm sure there's a lot of good women out there who are good human beings, self-worth, like good individuals. But I'm not talking about your personal value. I'm just talking about your sexual market value. So the thing is, as a person, you're a great person. You grow up to be a great person later on in life. But like I told you guys before, your sexual market value is low, because for men, they're very territorial when it comes to women who they want to commit to long-term and take the responsibility to take care of and starting a family. So as your personal value as a woman is great, is high, but your sexual market value is low. So you can be a woman, like I said, and women, and a lot of women don't know the difference. So like, as a woman, you can be a great woman, you can be a good woman and love God and everything.
Malala.
But if you
can be Malala, you can be Malala, but you'll never be Kim Kardashian.
But if you're a whole 300 pounds and don't have no good hygiene and don't take care of your physical attractiveness, then your sexual market value is low. For men, it's the same thing. There's a lot of good men out there. Personal value is great, but they're lazy, unambitious, don't have goals, don't have dreams, they lack discipline. So there's the things that women look for. So their sexual market value is low. So there's a difference between personal value as being a human being, but there's a difference between sexual attractiveness to what opposite sex look for and attracted to, especially when they want to look for a commitment. And also, I do want to add on the biological fact, right? Also, like the whole phase. There's a reason why it's that's why I think it's for a lot of women, there's a big risk to it, because you guys can also get pregnant. So a lot of times when women go in the whole phase, the risk is that you guys may end up having children with the wrong man, with a man that doesn't want to take responsibility, want to step up for you. And that's a whole different trauma and problems that comes with being a hoe. So, and that's the reality for a lot of women. That's why I'm not against men and women. For men to go out there and be impregnating all these women, you're causing a lot of issues with those women. You're also going to cause a lot of issues with the children and the offspring that you're going to form. So it's all about building meaningful relationships. It's not about quantity, it's quality. So it's about quality. So like, that's what I'm saying, is for both men and women, I don't think it's a good idea. But I also understand when we live in a real world that men who are who are promiscuous and who sleep with a lot of women, the thing is they're congratulated because the very things that they have to do in order to be promiscuous, the value they have to bring, women love that. But the thing is, it's opposite from men. We care about your sexual history, so it's gonna be an opposite effect. And a lot of like that truth, but that's the reality when they go into the dating world, and why they end up single and they find it hard for them to find a good quality man. Liv, what's your response? I know you want to respond to
that. You're real big on like statistics, and but I'm wondering what it is for like the percentage of women who don't have a hoe phase and later on in their marriage with a great man cheat because they never had that in their life because
so there was a study they did where they looked at women where they looked at women who never had sex at all. They were virgins, never had sex at all, and they got married. And they looked at the women who went through a whole phase and had multiple sexual partners and looked at their marriage. What they found was those women who were virgins when they got married, their divorce rate was like less than 5%. And then the women who went through a whole phase, their divorce rate was high, was like 20% more than the women who didn't go through a whole phase. And like I told you guys before, it just goes through and explain all the reasons. It's just for a woman, in order for you to have sex, you have to emotionally connect with that man. So if you're going with all these men and you connect with them, they break your heart. You connect with them, they break your heart. They disappoint you, they mistreat you, they lie to you. So there's only so much you can take emotionally as a woman. Then it just goes. So there's a lot of issues going to come with it. And also, and if you end up getting pregnant, having a child with a man that doesn't really want the child, that's a whole other issue itself. So there's all these risks that come with it. And then as a woman, if you go down that path and you attract all those risks, then it's going to be a really, really hard life for you. So and that's the thing. So if women want to be part of that, make that choice, that's fine. But it's just the reality is it's a hard life. Going that route, and not only with your personal experience, but also like the statistics show that women who tend to behave in that certain way, they find it hard to attract commitment, and they also find it hard to build meaningful relationships with men because of all the issues they had in the past.
Just to compliment you, what you said, Will, Boston University did a study, and women that had less than 6 partners in their whole life usually had like a 15% or 20% of chance of getting divorced. 6 and up, it rampages up to 40% or something. And they explain it for lame terms, like it's like you living in getting used to a first world country and then being sent back to a third world country where you are used to variety, you are used to having all types of, I have this, I have that, and it's on the tip of your hands. And then you get back to one single guy that has to give you everything, the emotion, the dick size, the tall, the car, the money. And most women that don't live that, like the virgin woman, she has sex for the first time and says, oh, this is great. I never felt that. But you are comparing the guy that you chose with 20 guys that you've been before. So that's very problematic because...
So what about percentage?
Go ahead.
Sorry. What about the percentage of like all these women that you're saying, like, okay, you're out there you're having your whole phase and getting pregnant or whatever, but that's a guy getting them pregnant. That's a child for that guy. So that guy is obtaining baggage as well. And there's so many men out there that have babies everywhere, like with multiple women that have.
But it ultimately comes down to the woman allowing them to have access to sex.
That's what I'm saying
just going back to earlier point, the reason why it's so different for men and women when it comes to the sexual market is for, like the panel have already stated, a man needs to prove his worth and they have to actually bond with the woman in order to gain access to sex. Whereas if a woman who's attractive enough walk up to any man, majority of 90% of the time, if she offers sex to him, he will say yes without thinking. That's a big difference. Not only that, we'll mention the risk of pregnancy. It's not just pregnancy. The very hormone that promotes nurture and caring and long-term commitment for women is tied into their sexuality, which is called oxytocin. When women climax, there's a huge release of oxytocin. When women look and see babies or in the presence of babies or in a healthy relationship, there is a healthy regulation of oxytocin. That's why it's very different. That hormone for men is only regulated when he climaxes. And we all know it doesn't take much for a man to shoot a shot, literally. Whereas for a woman during sex, there has to be so many barriers to be broken down before she reaches that state. So that's why when we talk about sexual marketplace with men and women, the difference is women carry all the negative benefits in a sense when they go into it, whereas men can have sex, have children, and just leave. The only boundaries or the only thing that will hold the man back would be legal implications, but he is still free to move accordingly to however his life has transpanned out. Whereas it's once a woman gets pregnant, her options are reduced greatly, including finding long-term partners. There are exceptions, but her options are reduced greatly. Whereas for a man, it's not. And even with the culture of today, a lot of women are finding it even more sexy to find a man with children, which is weird. But hey, that's the world we live in. That's why the argument is being made. We're not condoning men who are promiscuous in a sense.
Yeah.
But the risk are more towards women in a sense. Yeah.
And you can see it on real life too. Most men that have like multiple kids for multiple women, they're not being penalized. They have one, they say sweet stuff, they get a baby, they divorce, go to the other one. Oh, now it's me. I'm going to change you. They're not getting penalized.
The perfect example is look at Future, right? He's constantly making babies with his children, with his women, knowing full well of his past, right? They know he has multiple babies because Nick Cannon is a perfect example.
Yeah.
All these women know that he has multiple kids with different baby mamas, but they still choose to go with him because, like I told you guys before, what he brings to the table, or the value, he's social style, he's rich, he's wealthy. They have a future with it. They know being with Nick Cannon is a future. They don't care about a man's sexual history, but it's opposite from men. And also, they just do a look test, right? Like I always tell the ladies all the time, like, because right now the average marriage in America lasts about 7 years. So look at couples. Look at I'm sure all of you women out there have men in your life or men that you know of that are good men, quality men. They're loyal to their woman, been married for over 10, 15, 20 years. If you look at their partners that they choose, don't you see a pattern of the types of women that they select? Are they selecting OnlyFans models, porn stars, women who are promiscuous, women hoes? You see there's the quality of men. The men that were very good quality, good men. Responsible, ambitious, they want to take care of the children, they want to start families. You see that they have a different pattern of selective behavior when it comes to the women they choose. So, and that's all you have to see. You just see, look at them women, look at the men that are good and responsible to their women. You see the types of women they select, and then look at the women who are hoes and look at the type of women, men that they attract and then they select. So you see there's a difference. So like I told you guys before, like that's just the reality of the dating market. And unfortunately, like I told you guys before, for both men and women, but I know for a lot of women who choose to go down this route, they don't want to accept the consequences. And that's the hard reality. You're free to go through that. You can grow and heal from it. And like I told you guys before, don't conflate personal value with sexual market value. You can still be a great person after having that past, but just understand that it's going to be really, really, really hard for you to attract a quality mate. And not only statistically, but if you look at life, it's a reality.
And I just want to add on, we've only married for love in the last couple of decades. Majority of the marriages prior to, let's say, the 1950s were all because there was some exchange in wealth or status.
Marriage.
Yeah. So when we look at how modern society have moved, we are moving in a way where we're trying to change the social landscape and how we attract each other, but it's failing at a miserable rate. So do we look and and change the whole system in a sense of how we form relationship, or do we look to find the better things that come together? Obviously, no one's going to stop women from going out and having a hoe phase. What we can do is have these sort of podcasts and say, hey, if you're going to pursue that lifestyle, there are consequences. You cannot have everything that you want out of life.
Yeah.
So the choices are up to you, essentially.
And the thing is, trying to convince a man to love a promiscuous woman is like trying to convince a woman to love a small, broke, no job. That's the same. You can try to say, oh, that's not fair. He's a great person. He loves kitties. No, he's not going to. You're not going to try to convince him. So it's the same thing. And it's not fair, but it's life.
Yeah, there's a couple of comments coming through your live chat. There's one comment there saying it's never that simple though. That's the biggest lie people tell each other. It's not that simple. It is that simple. If you really sit down and look at it, it is that simple. And when we comment there, magnetic more than love.
Wait.
I highly doubt this person have looked into hormones and how that relates to decision making and bonding between men and women.
Yeah. All I'm gonna say is on the live chat, I see you guys have a lot of opinions and totally disagree with what we said. Yeah, the public Zoom link is on there. Just click on the live chat. Let me know. I just noticed this topic is very triggering, so I know there's a lot of holes in the live chat.
Both men and female.
All right. Like I told you guys before, your personal value is great. I'm just saying your sexual market value that could be hindered. So, but yeah, let me know what your thoughts in the live chat. I appreciate you guys. But I do want to open up to the ladies. I'm sure they have their questions, and thank you, ladies, for participating and having this open discourse. Whether you agree or disagree, but like I told you guys before, like I don't have a problem with women going down that route. If all the women that's watching this right now, is just you just understand the consequences that comes with it. And for me, it's like I don't care what people do in life. Honestly, for me, it's your life. Do what you want to do. But for me, I find it bothersome when people complain about the very choices they made. So I take responsibility for all my choices in life. I don't blame anybody for my choices in life. Everything comes down to me. Something happens to me, I don't put the blame on nobody. I put that blame back on myself. All right. So, and I just hope people out there are being more responsible, being very selective, and especially when it comes to finding a long-term partner. But I do want to open up for the ladies. Ladies. What are your questions? What do you guys want to bring up? I'll start with you, Qaze. What is your question? What is your topic? And let me know what it is, and let's dive right into it. Go ahead, Qaze.
Well, okay. So I just want to go back and kind of talk a little bit more about because I was just listening. I didn't really have any say in it, but then I feel like, it's the two-way street. I feel like, I do know guys who do go through their whole phase as well. And I feel like, why is it always the girls being looked down on? And I mean, it's vice versa, obviously, but I feel like people, they have their own opinion of what a whole phase is. But anyways, other than
but just for the sake of context, let's all agree a whole phase is a person, man or woman, that sleeps around with multiple sexual partners.
Being more pernicious than they usually.
Yeah. So that way the definition is consistent for all of us. Right? That's what when we say whole phase, that's what we mean. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. But anyways.
You don't understand the double standard?
So your question is why do men see it differently? Is that your question?
No, I think my main question is that what was my
why is a woman did you say why are women frowned upon and why is a man celebrated? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, right. And totally
double standard. Why is there double standard?
I mentioned that earlier. It is about the emotion and all that, but there are I feel like everyone's different. And I know that we talked about statistics only, but if taking it beside talking about statistic and just talking about we have friends, we have family members, we have people who actually do go through these things. And instead of talking statistically, it's not all just about the hormones and all that. There are people out there who, like, women can be like guys too. Like, they can just have sex without having that emotion and that connection. They can just say yes and all that. Or even without like even needing. See, you're saying no, but there are
how many
are
partners
able, and that's why if we're not talking
No,
about
let her finish. Claudia, let her finish.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Qaze. Finish your thought.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Like I totally understand the statistics part, but like there are actual people out there who are able to do that. And like, yeah, it's very few percentage, but not everybody like needs like an emotional connection just to sleep around and do all that, or need the thing where like you have to have this and that in order to sleep around and stuff. And I mean, it goes for guys too. Like, guys, you know, like what you guys said, it's very easy for guys to say yes. And so there are like the same when we talk about like you guys want to find someone who doesn't have that, you know, the promiscuous side of sex thing. And so like when you guys do settle down, and they settle down with women who have not been with a lot of guys, but there are guys who still cheat when they get married, and so cheat because that was not something that they looked for. And so there are guys that are like that. And so it's the same vice versa as for girls. Like, yeah, girls have divorced because of that too. And so why is it just mainly looking on the girl side where like it's just the girl? Like, there are men out there who is like that too. And so like because like the whole conversation is like what we're talking about is mostly coming from your guys' perspective. And there are girls who, you know, who get into a marriage with that one person, and it might not just be all about like the sex. It can just be a lot more. It could be that potential where that guy actually cheated and he has been with a lot of other girls. And also like the fact that like women who are virgin and get married, and then the guy who cheats, and the girl who, you know, statistics saying that like women who goes through their whole phase, they have a divorce. But there are girls who are virgin and get married. They stay with that marriage is because that's what they stay in that marriage, not because of, you know, the fact that he cheated and have, you know, other sexual partners more than what she had. Is because women are more prone to wanting to stay in a stable marriage, and that's why they don't get a divorce. And I feel like that's why statistic is a little bit like that, is based on that, is because women who have not had sex and then stay with someone, and then eventually the guy, you know, cheats, and you know the girl still stays because she values, and I totally understand, she values family and all that. And it's like vice versa. Why can't a woman still have like it shouldn't matter. Like, I know nowadays it shouldn't matter about the sexual partnership, because women are different. And I feel like nowadays, modernized dating, the sex plays a huge impact now than it did. And I feel like there are good quality men who do, you know, want a woman who hasn't slept with. Great, awesome. But there are also quality women who have not had sex and want a man who has not had a lot of sexual partners too. And so I feel like it's vice versa when we talk about this topic. And it shouldn't be like where like, you know, whatever woman does is wrong and men does is right, or it like why is the blame always on women? Okay. It doesn't matter about like if like she's going through a whole phase. It's like women is always being blamed on for little things that women does, and when guy does it, it's a praise thing. Like, why men should also be
can I just jump on?
Okay, yeah. So I know before I pass it on to the you're because I know you went all over the place. You were talking about infidelity and cheating. I know that's a whole different topic. But so you're basically your question, or you want to bring up is like why should it matter, right? Why should a woman's sexual past matter to men? Is that what you're saying? Like,
right?
Yeah. Okay. So why is it like why do men often frown upon women, and why does it matter to us so much, and why is it different? Why can't it be the same? Is that what you're saying? I'm trying to get it like understanding.
It's a double standard. She doesn't like the double standard and wants to understand why we give so much importance on that.
I'll start with you, Daniela. Yeah, she wants to know like why as men why should it matter to men? Like why can't it be just the same?
It is the same. The men who have no value are shunned out of society, essentially, for both men and women. The fat, lazy guy who spends the majority of his time in the basement of his mother playing games is shunned from society. The guy who is actively committing criminal offense and acts is actively shunned out of society by both male and female. That's why there's a vast majority of men in prison. When they come out of the prison and get into normal day-to-day life, they find it very hard for them to get into any legal standing, to work, to support their family. We're only verbally displaying our disapproval of women who live a certain lifestyle in the last 10 to 20 years and make it more public is because we now have social media who drives that narrative further than we have before. Every society have shunned women who were promiscuous. That's why the sex work was always looked at as the sex work, that industry. We just now have ways of communication where that narrative is much more louder than what it used to be before. It's not that we've, for some reason, just suddenly band together and said, hey, women, it's all your fault. That has always been a narrative in every society, and that's how we gauge generational longevity. Social media has just made it a lot more louder than it was. But the question goes back to, women have always dictated the quality of men that gets to preserve the next generation. You've always done that. That's why men had to court and go through so much standards in order to gain access to sex in the traditional sense, because that's preservation of life towards the next generation. Now the sexual marketplace has just opened to anyone and everyone. Any man can gain access to sex. Any man can preserve his genetics, energy, or whatever you believe in for the next generation. We no longer pick who will become the next generation of men and female that will carry on society. We now just, let's have sex, let's have fun. Women can have everything they want. But later found out that's not the case. If you're actively participating in casual sex, you are now more at risk of raising weak men and female that will further go on and either contribute to society in a very negative way, or to the unaliving yourself statistics. We really look at this from a logical sense. Why do we think there's more rates of suicide going up now than ever before? Is it that we're just giving genetic preservation of hormones that aren't regulated healthy to just anyone? Are we not nitpicking through the men who will become the good leaders of tomorrow? When we have these conversations, that's what we have to think about. And of course, men are shunned. We've accepted this. That's why there's not a big uproar. But unfortunately, nowadays, there are more men coming out and saying, yeah, you poor me. I've been mistreated all my life. However, that's the life of a man. Your life is full of hardship. That's how you bring value to the world. That's how you preserve the next generation. That's how you cater for the woman in your society. Is you have to be strong. You have to bring good values so that in order for the next generation to be preserved and to move forward in society, you have to bring those values. And that's not just a value that drops on your lap. You pick it up, put it on, and voila, I'm a good man. I'm a great man. I have values, blah, blah, blah. You have to actively fight for it. You have to build values. It takes a lot of work. Most of those men don't get those values until their late 30s and their 40s. But it requires work. Women just come into the world with a preconceived value. Just because you're a woman, you already have a value in our eyes. That's it. Whether you're poor in the slum or you're up in a mansion, men value regardless. But for a man, he needs to go through a rite of passage to build his value. So therefore, there are much more pressure on him. And we accept that. No one is saying we don't accept that. But these are the dance of life that men and women have to go to. We accept our consequences when we are shitty human beings, essentially, and we're weak, emotional men. And all we're saying in these discussions is, here's what we accept. Why can't you accept the consequences of your actions?
Accountability.
Yeah. Just before I pass it on to Claudio, it's something I see. Like, it's like, as guys, like, we know for a fact that if we're bums, if we have no ambition, no goals, if we don't work on ourselves, we know that we're not going to get no sexual access, or women don't take us seriously. And you see it on social media all the time. I'm sure you guys on TikTok, you see all these women. I want a guy that's 6 foot, 6 figures, 6 inches. You know, they have no problem telling the type of men that they will only date and fuck all the other men that don't meet those requirements. Right? If you're on 6 foot, we don't want you. Right? So that was the thing is, men, we know that, and we have to work on ourselves and find other ways to be sexually attractive. But for a lot of women, like, because for a man to stay his standards in today's society, if a man says, like, I don't want to date a hoe in today's modern America, like, a lot of women will shame that man and be, you hate women, you're misogynistic. But he's just telling you but that guy is just telling you guys what men want, the same way women tell the men what they want. I want a guy that's 6 foot. I want a guy that's 6 figures. I want a guy with a big dick. Like, they're just openly telling their standards. I don't want any other guy that doesn't meet those requirements. And those men have to deal with reality. All right, I don't have those things, but I'm gonna have to figure it out. How I'm gonna find sex, how I'm gonna attract a guy. But now women, today, they're getting the same treatment. Men are saying the same things now. We don't want a woman with a hoe. So you have to deal with that also. So however you want to figure that out, if you want to keep that down that path, that's fine. But as men, like Daniela said, men, we all understand this at a very young age. There's a consequence. It's a competitive market with other men. We know that if we want something of good quality, we got to go get it and work for it. And if we don't get work for it, it is what it is. That's life. But for a lot of women, they can't accept that reality, and they can't accept the consequence. Claudio, what's your thoughts on Qaze's?
I'm sorry for interrupting, Qaze, and be a little giddy. I'm sorry, it won't happen again. But like Daniela said, for instance, I gained a lot of weight on the last 2 years. For me, I know the consequences that come to it. I don't try to change the rules. I don't try to impose. Oh no, you women need to like fat guys. But women, on the other hand, when they get fat, they invent body positivity movements, fat shaming. You see, men know the problem. They know what comes with their decisions, and they are okay with it, because if you don't work for it, you're going to get penalized. Women, usually, they know the rules of the game, and then when they have a bad hand, they try to change it. And that's why Daniela was talking about responsibility. So getting back a little bit, I know what's happening here. She and most women don't understand the double standard. That's like the major double standard that women fight for. Like, why men can be promiscuous and be heroes, and we are sluts and we are shamed. But no one asks woman why a virgin woman is a diamond that needs to be preserved. She's the best of everything. And the man that is a virgin is a low value man that is not worth it for anyone. Do you understand the double standard? Why women, feminists, for example, say you should not judge women by their past, sexual past, and then the first insult that they throw at men when they are talking to them is incel. Incel, involuntary celibate. So the sex didn't mean anything when I was doing it, but now a man that can't have sex is being judged because he's an incel. You see, the world is not fair. A virgin woman is a diamond. A virgin man is a bum. Do you see men complaining about, oh, it's a double standard, I should be valued just like a virgin woman? That doesn't happen. So the world isn't fair, and you guys have to understand that, because most times women get the benefit of the doubt. And I'm going to give this 2 examples just to get it out of the way. If somebody goes through our home like a burglar, and my wife runs away and I keep here to protect her, nothing will happen to her because she did her duty. If somebody comes to my home and I run and I leave my wife here her father and her brother are going to kill me because I didn't do my job and I didn't protect her. This is a double standard, but women understand it. But on the other way around, when they are on the short side of the stick, they do the understanding. So just to finish it, I usually give the example to my woman friends because this is the only example that they understand. Like in 10 days on the Valentine's Day, you are going with your fiance to Cayman Islands or to Hawaii. And this is your dream trip. You pick up the plane, 5-star hotel. He puts you on those little islands with a bungalow and roses on the ground and candles. And you do some TikToks and stuff like that. And all your friends are saying, oh, that's a dream. Oh, and you are in love with him, and everything is being really well. And then you ask him, okay, yeah, I'm going to marry you. This is the guy that I want to marry. He proved himself that he loves me. But how do you know so well the pets on the plane? Where are the islands? Where are the refrigerator? How do you know this so well? And the guy says to you, oh, because every Valentine's Day, I come here with a different girl. On the last 10 years, I came here with Joanna, Andrea, Rafaela. You will be extremely upset because he spoiled a moment that should be special for you two, but he gave it to the 10 girls before you. That's hurtful. That hurts your ego, and that hurts the woman's pride. So that's why men don't want women that have the same experience with 10 guys before, because it hurts our ego and our pride. It's exactly the same thing.
Oh, no worries. Thank you, Claudio. Liv, what's your response?
I think that's where I think our generations clash for, I guess, my age and like the new generation, because I can see what you were saying about, you know, the difference between men and women. Like, I have 2 sons and I raised my sons to not give all attention, any attention. I tell them all the time, like, not all attention is good attention. Be picky who you talk to. Your body is just like a woman's. It's your vessel. You just can't be giving it to anyone when you are of age to start having sex. Like, we have those kind of talks, and I lift my boys up to let them know, like, they are young kings, and I don't feel like being a virgin as a man is shunned. Like, they shouldn't be shunned, because I feel like just like holding a woman on a pedestal, we should hold a man on a pedestal as well, if that's what their beliefs are, is to save their virginity until marriage or whenever they're ready. So I do agree that it shouldn't be looked at like that, because the way I raised my sons is not all attention is good attention. And there are women, I know that there are women, like, we're all different, and there are women out there who see potential in a man or see what that man could give them, and they'll do anything to get in that realm of that man to have babies or have, you know, just whatever they can get. But there are also women who are out there that work just as hard as men and like to, you know, just like the guy putting the rose petals and stuff like that for the vacation. Like, I do that kind of stuff for my husband. Like, I like to have special treats for my husband, or take him out, or pay, like, buy him things. Like, I think it goes both ways, and I think we appreciate each other more because of those things. You know, it's not just left on him to be like having to think of like what date, what, you know, what special thing can I do for her. It goes back and forth. Like, we're always being spontaneous that way with each other. And I think that's what keeps relationships alive, is when you don't have it all pressed on the man to be, you know, putting that into play. Like, you have a woman that's kind of equal on the page that you're on, you know. Do you get what I'm saying?
No, I got you. Yeah, I got you. How old are your sons? Like, how old are they?
My oldest is going to be 18. He's a senior in high school. And then my youngest is going to be 14 tomorrow.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Yeah. So again, you're preparing them. That's great.
Yeah.
No. All right. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, Liv. Appreciate it. Everybody that's watching this right now, I see a lot of people going to live chat. I see you guys a lot of things to say. Jump on, jump on, and let's have this convo. I see a lot of you have a lot of things to say. So if you want to say something, like I said, that's the whole point of this, to have these conversations. But like I said, you have a lot of you guys that have these thoughts and opinions on this live chat. You guys like to say it on there because we can't really talk to you and directly have a conversation with you. So say it, come on here. It's still good. It's, the heat is, like I said, we're having great respectful conversations in here. So jump on, click on the live Zoom. Qaze, real quick before I pass it on to Liv and her question, because I know you said that, why should it matter? Why should woman's sexual history matter to a man, and why is it different? I want to ask you, Qaze, real quick. Do you believe men and women have different preferences of what they look for?
I mean, you kind of need to.
I was asking you, like, based on your experience, like, do you think that our preferences are the same or different? Like, do men and women look for the same things, or it's totally different?
I mean, there are some for sure that men and women do look for in the same.
Okay. All right, no worries. And I'm sure you have your preferences, right?
Yeah, I think everybody does.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. No worries. What are there certain preferences? What are things that you won't tolerate in a man? Like some preferences that you have in a man that if he doesn't meet this preference or standard, I'm not giving him no shot.
That's actually a very hard question. Preference.
It's okay to be honest.
No, you're good. You're good.
Start with the physical first instead of start with
like
the physical.
First. Oh,
yeah,
physical.
Yeah. I mean, it's up to you.
So
you don't have to be physical, but just.
For me personally, I'm like 5'2". So me personally, I would want someone a little bit taller than me.
How tall?
7'2".
No, okay, not that tall. That's way too tall for me. I feel like 6 feet is enough for me. But then like it's just taller than me.
Okay, so I mean, look, it's your preference. I don't have a problem.
Right,
so 6 foot is the bare minimum for you.
Is that
okay?
really,
So guys,
they don't have to be 6 feet.
So guys are 6 foot.
As long as like it's a.
What is it? What's the height? What's the bare minimum you would date?
Like bare minimum, like just taller than me, at least.
Yeah, what's
taller than 5'5", just because I wear heels. So I'm about 5'3", 5'4" if I wear heels. So
okay, 5'5".
Yeah, taller than 5'5".
Okay. All right, so okay, so for
those
guys
are normal preference because like there are girls who are 5'8", so obviously, but then like that's their preference. So if we're talking about other more preference, me personally, I do want someone who is a little bit more muscular, but not like super buff. No, it's
in shape.
But yeah, in shape, so that like, carrying trash out, I don't know, lifting to heavy stuff that I'm not able to, that he is able to do it. Coming from that perspective.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else you want to add on? That's just it.
I think that's just it. But other than that, more
right.
It's more me personally, it's more of like the vibe, the connection. Like, are we keeping a good conversation? Like, can I make you laugh? Can you make me laugh? Are we like enjoying each other's
company? Of course.
Like the things that are like, are we into, like, are you into certain sports? Like, do you like hiking? Because I'm a very outdoor person, so I at least want someone who can keep up with me. Yeah.
No, I understand that. Okay, so yeah, I mean, when you finally get to know him, once he passes the height test and the shape test, then you can get to know him and connect and have a connection, right? Okay, so I'm asking. The reason why I asked you that question is because I want you to understand, like, this is why you should, why a man, it does matter for a man, a woman's sexual history. As women, you guys have preferences, you guys have standards, right? And that's what Daniela was saying. For a lot of men out there who are under 5'5" and who are obese, you're not gonna see them come up to you and ask you, how come you're not gonna choose me? Like, why you matter about body, my physical attributes? Why does my height matter? They just know that if that's what women want taller guys, and women like guys in shape. Men don't complain or don't walk up to you and say to try to change your standards. If you notice on this panel, like when you guys talk about your standards, like even in previous podcasts with women, when women talk about their standards or what they want and what their preferences, men, we accept all of it and we understand it. We don't have a problem with it. But what a lot of women today, especially modern day dating, they don't understand that men have standards as well. The problem is like men are not vocal about their standards because we live in a very feminist, radical third wave feminist society that if men were actually honest with women and tell them what they really want in a woman, they would be shameful. So I just noticed that when you guys have standards as well, and you guys will not date those men who are under that certain height. You won't date those men that don't fit that physical requirement. But then you don't see none of those guys coming up to you, but like, hey, why does that matter? Men, we just understand it. And a lot of women, it's the same way when it comes to men. We have preferences. We have standards of what we look for. One of the big ones, the primary ones, especially for a wife, for a long-term commitment, is we don't want sexual history and we don't want a hoe. Now, like I said, it's up to you how you take that. You're gonna complain about it or try to shame us for it. But as men, our standards are not gonna change. The same way you, Qaze, doesn't matter how many men shame you. How come you don't want fat men? How come you don't want short men? They can shame you all you want, but you're not gonna change your standards because that's what, as a woman, that's what you're attracted to. So the same thing with men. As women, like they don't like to hear that from men. And that's why men don't say it out loud. That's why men are not open with it. That's why we have this podcast. Men would just ghost those women, would just leave those women and not call them and just go find another woman that meets those requirements. But that's why we're telling you out loud, but that's why a lot of men don't say it. I just need you guys to understand that, because like I said, it's not going to change, and this is the reality. So this information is given. As a woman, it's up to you to take that information. And like I said, we don't have problems with what you guys want. I just noticed today is like when we talk about men's standards and their preferences, a lot of women have a problem with it. And the reason why they have a problem with it is because now they have to accept accountability for their choices, right? And the same thing with those guys, like if those guys don't meet your standard, if they're fat, hey, if they want to get with you, Qaze, go work out, stop being a fat ass. All right. And then they have a shot with you. If they're tall, if they're short, you better have a big dick or go get some money. Or something, but that's just the reality. But for a lot of women, if you're a hoe, there's a lot of things you can do to change that, to work on yourself, to improve. But the thing is, as men, we know that we have to self-improve. If we don't meet the standards of most women, we have to self-improve to meet those standards. And for a lot of women, when they get held accountable, it's just they don't want to accept the responsibility to self-improve. And that's just one of the things I just noticed today, into the dating culture. So, anyways, thank you for all those out here watching this right now. Press that like and subscribe button. I told you, ladies, man, we started this hot. It's already an hour and a half already, already gone, and we started this topic hot. I do want to open it up for Liv. Liv, I know you have a topic, question, you want to bring it up, and we can conclude the podcast with that question, that topic. Go ahead, Liv.
Let's see, in relationships for men, this is something that I've come across in my earlier dating and into like serious relationship days. Why do men go for the silent treatment in situations rather than communicate?
All right, so why do men go for the silent treatment and don't communicate with the woman?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay. It sounded personal.
Oh, all right. It sounds like
that sounded personal.
No. It's not anything that I'm dealing with like in today's life, but I just want to know, like, because I hear this I hear it from a lot of different women that they'll go days without talking to their spouse or boyfriends when something happens. And they want to talk about it, but when the conversation's brought up, it always gets shut down. and the man doesn't want to talk. They just want to, and they want to go through days with not talking, and then, okay, this time has passed, you should be over it by now. I want to know if is that
there's a multiple things happening there.
Yeah, Daniela is the perfect person to respond to that question. He's the expert. Go ahead.
There's multiple things happening there, and it depends on the quality of man. The man will literally take the silent treatment because it's peace. It is absolute peace for that man. If you're not nagging him about a problem, it's absolute peace. Therefore, he'll take it. Not only that, the other side of that coin is that men don't solve problems by actively communicating about the problem. They sit and think, and they go through scenarios of how they can actively solve that problem. That's why men who go through therapy are less likely to recover than they are to physically partake in physical activities. Those are shown and proven that they are more effective for men than they are to actively talk about their problems. So when we talk, that's a very good point that you bring forward, is because majority of women think that men can solve problem. That's how we're structured. Brain-wise, that's how we're structured. We physically need to touch something in order to solve problems rather than doing this. That's not how we solve problems. Women find that therapeutic because it regulates their estrogen level, which drives the way that you look at your partner and how you're attracted to them and whether you're sexually attracted to your male counterpart. That's why the narrative is driven. Men need to communicate more verbally. They need to talk about their feelings, because you now find that man sexually attractive a lot more, especially in a relationship context. But if you actively find that man actively communicating his emotion without doing something, then now he becomes a weak man. Oh shit, my life is so depressing, I can't do anything about it. And if he does that over a period of time without doing something about it, those men will eventually be left in the dust. We're wired differently. The way men social bond and the way that they bond to multiple different things, that's why men play with their kids. It's because they form that bond through physical touch. And not only that, there is a hormone in men that drives social bonding, and it's mostly negative scenarios that contribute to that. That's why men who go through war or have had childhood where they've gotten through a lot of trials and tribulations with other male form a stronger bond than they are with men that they've had good times with. If we can't argue and we can't stand together in times of hardship, then I don't value you as a man, because I don't know what your capability is. But if I have gone through some form of war with you and you've been there by my side, I can trust you with my life and I respect you. So when it comes to communication and why men don't communicate, majority of it is because men find peace in quiet. We do. And second to that, we have never solved problem by just talking. We have to physically do something in order to actively solve that problem.
All right.
Thank you. Does that help in some way? Do you have any sort of?
Yeah, kind of. But the reason I ask is because like the stuff that I hear from friends or women that I know that I talk to on my page, and I have found in experience with past relationships, when a topic was brought up or something was brought up that they needed to be questioned about or just anything, they'll run to, just be silent and not communicate. But then with I've noticed that can drive like a wedge between the relationship and distrust, not like trust issues. But then like with my husband now, when we get upset or just anything, I found it that I have a stronger bond with him and become like even more attracted to him, because he does like to sit down and talk about like, why are you mad? Or let's talk it out. You know what I mean?
Do you guys talk or argue and then have makeup sex and then all is okay?
No, there's really no arguing anymore. Like we just talk.
Yeah.
The biggest confusion there is men don't keep receipts, whereas women do. And usually the argument or the problem that's raised up is non-current to the current situation. It's usually a receipt kept over time, now been brought up in order to stir the relationship. That's why it's different. And when men are confronted in that way, majority of us tend to shut down because we don't keep receipts. Some of us won't remember it. Some of us would think, why is that problem become so significant when it was done over a period of time? Why was it not brought up right here, right now? When the action was made, why was that problem brought up? So that's why there's a wedge always driven, because you women naturally tend to keep receipts and bring it up at the most non-convenient time for a man when it should be confronted. And I would like to ask this question: when you have when you communicate with your husband, do you communicate at the time the problem was brought up, or do you keep it over a long period of time and then bring it up?
Now we communicate. So I would say at the beginning, we've been together for going on 9 years. In the beginning of our relationship, I would say I would keep it, like you said, hold receipts. But now when things, and it's not even anything crazy, it could just be like making a decision on the house or something, the topics are brought up right away.
But you see the difference in the reaction now. Yeah. He's more actively partaking in the communication when you bring it up right there and then. We value forthcoming and honesty.
Directness.
It's truly communication. Truly communication.
Directness. Direct, direct.
And if you advise your the friends or the women that you are consulting, bring the problem up when it happens. You'll often find that men will communicate directly, whether they're right or wrong. They will communicate with you. But if you leave it even over a day, the way we process things, it's now over. It's in the past. We move forward. So when it's brought up, it's bringing up a point of time where the man's physically, mentally, emotionally no longer there. So he has no interest on that issue, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, that's good.
The proof of a man that is not worth it is if he has the same reaction of like he does a salad treatment because he's spoiled, because he doesn't know, he knows that he doesn't have the right answer, or he's wrong, so he shuts down. And then when you start exchange ideas, he starts speaking back stuff at you and starts throwing you because he just wants to deflect. He doesn't want to solve the problem. And you know what's funny? I saw a podcast today. It was the battle of the sexes between men and women. It was literally today. And a woman asked to the guy, why do men do not communicate with women? And the guy said this: I need a safe place to talk with you. When we sit, if I knew I could just tell you the problem and we will talk about it and it will be done, I would sit with you every single time. But you know what the problem is? As soon as I sit and I say, I need you to do this, the first thing she does is, oh, but you didn't do this, and you didn't do that, you didn't do that. And exactly on that discussion, the same woman that was asking, why don't you open up to me, started to say, no, but if you say this, I need to say that. And if you do this, I need to say that. So they are instigating a fight. The communication that a lot of women want is an avenue to vent what they have on their minds, but they don't have the means to say it, because if the man is quiet, it's like starting a war. I'm not going to launch a missile if you don't launch it at me. But women usually build up that momentum. And when they want to communicate is when they know they have the ammunition to talk about it. So if I tell you, oh, you didn't give me sex 1 week ago. Oh, but remember that time I was cold and you didn't give me the jacket. And they start to argue about the thing that women want to argue and not the thing that men usually, the first problem that they want to talk, it usually becomes a war. So most men are scared of that. It's not even scared. They know what's up. They know most women that want to communicate, they don't want to talk about the problem that they are living right now. They do exactly what Daniela said. They want to bring stuff from the past, and the regulation of our system, you get a lot better because you are arguing, you are discharging estrogen, and the man is building up tension and tension and tension and tension and tension. So you get off that conversation really well because you vented. You are mad, but now I said what I said, and the guy is boiling up inside because we don't work that way. We like to shut up and be on our piece.
Yeah, I want to add on to something Claudio said. I want to ask you, Lib, when you talk to your friends, or you personally, when you have arguments with your man, Do your friends focus on the solution, or is there a lot of like shaming language, to their man? When there's a problem arise, like they will attack the man and shame him personally. Oh, you ain't this, you ain't shit. Yeah, that's why whatever. Like, or
I think
go ahead.
I think at the age of my friends now, we focus on solutions. It doesn't really get to the shaming anymore. I also know who to vent to and who not to, because I know that it'll be, I know who will shame and who won't. You know what I mean? Who will give me.
So they did. Okay, so they did in the past. They used to shame,
right?
When there was a problem.
Even women now that I know who will shame over the ones who will actually give a solution. So I know who to vent to, is what I'm saying.
Okay. No, no, because one of the things like I'm very attracted to in women is a movement is very cooperative, and especially when we disagree on things. And when I see that if I can disagree with a woman and she's very cooperative to figure out a solution so we can move on with the problem. For me, that makes me want to communicate. Oftentimes, sometimes I see women like when there's a disagreement, instead of talking to the problem, they want to shame a man. So a lot of times for women, like you guys want the men to open up and communicate. Now, oftentimes these men, and a lot of women don't know what men go through, right? There's a lot of things that we go through as men, but then we finally open up and we tell you our struggles, we tell you our vulnerabilities and things that we go through, and then you instantly shame and use that against us. Then that's why for a lot of men that when we do it, when you shame us for the first time, we don't want to talk about it at all. And because that's something that's very dear to us of the things that we go through. And if we're going to open up to you, we want peace, and we want to be able to a woman that's going to support us and be cooperative and find a solution to move on. But if we open up to you, and then you shame us and you use it against us, then that man is like, that's the last time I'm ever going to open up to you.
And if the man is dealing with someone who's not going to find a solution along with them, they have to know in that sense that they're dealing with a toxic woman.
But that's not
silent. That's why they go silent. That's why, because they know like this situation is not gonna benefit me. I already know that if I stay in this situation, keep arguing with this woman, or she's gonna agitate me, I'm gonna do something stupid. I know what, it's better off for me just to be silent and get peace, like a lot of Daniela and Claudia said. Because if I stay in this situation and she's constantly shaming me, I don't want to do something I'm gonna regret. So for a lot of men, they'll just go silent. So that's why for a lot of women, if a man is going to communicate with you, because naturally, like Daniela said, like it's not within our nature to communicate, because we like to deal things on our own. We like to fix things. We like to focus on solutions, just get shit done and move on. But if a man chooses to open up to a woman, to him, he may feel safe, and if to open up for the first time to that woman, because the relationship he has with that woman, but that woman abuses that trust and that peace, and shames him or uses the things he opens up to you to use it against him, then like he's probably never going to open up. He's going to be silent and never going to open up with them. And that's just one of the things I just noticed. Those women, if you do it one time, it's probably not going to happen. It's going to be hard for him to open up again.
Most of them don't want that, Will. You need to teach it. And the thing is, it's not exclusive to women. I have like a younger brother, and he's very emotional too. And what I say to him is, we are arguing about what we need to do to fix this problem. What is done is done. There's nothing we can do about it. Don't get emotional. Let's focus on the result and what you need to fix, and not on if I am right, I'm wrong, etc. And even with my clients, if something is delayed, they start venting, because I needed this and it's too late. And usually when I say, I can't do nothing about the past, but let me give you the path, like choose 3 or 4 options that is better for you, because we need to focus on the solving the problem that we have right now, and not if you're right, if I'm wrong. And they diffuse the situation completely, because then they see you are not trying to argue or to be right. They see that you are trying to solve the problem. Women usually need to be taught that the problem is when they get to the right guy, they usually been through 2 or 3 wrong guys that don't do that. They just argue to argue, complain to complain. So for you to fix that, you have to diffuse a lot of wires and try to build it on the way, because the natural inclination is to go tick for tack and not to say, we have a problem, this we need to do this, and this is done. This is how men usually solve the problems.
Liv, do you want to ask you a question? Like, do you find it more sexually attractive when men who, if there's a problem, they always come to you and complain and vent and talk about their feelings, talk about the shit they go through? Or do you find it more attractive when a man is very stoic and just keeps to himself? If there's a problem, he just figures out a solution and gets it fixed, gets it done. Like, so like, what's more sexually attractive?
I think it makes me more attracted to my husband when he communicates his frustrations and his thoughts and what he's going through, and like when he vents to me. I like that. And half the time he don't even want to hear what I have to say back. He just wants me to hear him. And that's what I do.
What if he doesn't solve anything?
No, I want to add
on. Wait, go ahead, Daniela.
Just Fanny, I understand your husband in the terms of his venting. He's venting just to actively participate in problem solving. I do the same. It takes me an hour to get home. I do the same with my wife. I call her not to seek or consult her. I just need to hear myself, be a little bitch, and actively problem solve in my head. When I get home, I already have 3 or 4 solutions to what I just vented about that I now can move forward with. Majority of the men who communicate also communicate to actively problem solve. And one of that major problem is to satisfy your emotional need for him to communicate. It's a strategy that we use so that we can at least solve our problems, but also satisfy that you want to know what we're going through mentally and emotionally. But he is actively solving problem. And I would also argue that you would notice that he solves his own problem majority of the time too. Yeah, that's a big part of that process for us, is that we vent to you so that you can still have the same connection that you have with us, but also we partake in problem solving at the same time.
Yeah.
But the caveat to what, go ahead, leave.
I was just going to say, I learned that a little bit on, because at the beginning of a relationship, he would, when you'd call and vent, and then you want to put your 2 cents in, and that's not really what y'all want. It's really, y'all just want us to listen.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. What I said, like the most important thing, I think that what Daniela said is like, and for women, it's like, at the end of the day, a man can vent, but he has to find a solution at the end of the day, right? And to make things work. But if a man just vents and complains, but there's no solution, there's no action, there's no improvement, then ultimately, like, you're just venting. Like, as for a man, like, a lot of women don't like a man that just vents and acts like another woman.
Yeah.
Like, at some point, you have to make clear.
The famous, am I his mother? Am I your mother? For you to vent like that and don't solve your problems is the usual.
No, my husband usually has a solution to his problem. He just wants to hear himself.
But that's why that's sexy.
Yeah.
He vents and he solves it. If I vent and
solves
I don't
that's
solve
the
it,
thing.
that's different. Yeah.
And you also mentally put problem solving to communication too. That's why it's such a much more sexy thing than just communication. Because now you know that if he's venting to me, he's going to solve this problem. That's what majority of other women don't get, is that when they argue the thing about vulnerability and communication, because they don't consciously associate problem solving to vulnerability. If a man is constantly vulnerable, he is not solving problem. But if a man is communicating about his problem and then solving it, that's not vulnerability.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the confusion. That's the big confusion women have. I want a man that's vulnerable. No, you want a man that's communicating and solving problem.
Yeah. There's a simple example. Is like saying to my girlfriend, man, I really need to lose weight. And if I get in like 2 weeks, I lose weight, she said he communicated the problem, he went his way and he solved it. But if I appear 1 month later and I'm still the same weight, you know what's happening? She's going to start looking at me like, this guy, He talks, but he doesn't do shit. That's exactly that.
Well, do you live there? You know why women like want men to be vulnerable now in today's dating culture generation?
Well, I wouldn't want mine to be
why?
vulnerable. Oh, do I know why?
Yeah, you know why?
Let's talk about the red room again, if you will.
It's a sick fantasy, to be honest. The whole vulnerability thing.
Fucking. It's because of Disney. Fucking Disney.
Charming.
No, I'm telling you, they like a lot of this generation, they grow up watching Disney, right? So they see this movies and fairy tales of this depiction of what men are supposed to be. So they see this Prince Charming, these men are vulnerable, these romantic comedies. So a lot of women, that's their expectation of men, right? They want, I see in the movies, I see Disney, I want a Prince Charming, a guy that's vulnerable, talk about his feelings. But like I told you guys before, I mean, that's why we always talk about me, Daniela, and Claudia, we always talk about biology. At the end of the day, you can go about vulnerability and all that stuff, but then in real life, when women go into relationships, real life problems, real shit issues like bills, responsibility, housing, future, costs, kids. Fuck the vulnerability. We need a solution. All right, we need a solution. And then what happens is these women pick men based on vulnerability. They don't pick men based on competence, based on discipline, right? Based on morals or things that he's gonna bring to a relationship to build a relationship. So they pick men of vulnerability, the guy that likes to talk about his feelings, the guy that's very feminine, right? Feminine traits, but they don't focus on guys that exhibit traits that's going to build a relationship. So a lot of times when they find this guy, you know what, he likes to talk to me all day, every day, 24 hours on the phone. We always talking, we're always going on dates. But what is he actually doing to build, like, provide a future for you? But then when all of a sudden, if they have a baby, now that responsibility is placed on him. But the very traits that you look for in him wasn't the traits that were the type of man that can raise a family, start a family, because he was just a guy that wanted to have fun and talk about feelings and stuff. So for me, it's just Disney has kind of confused women of what men, the type of men in reality in the real world they should work on to attract, because they tell them to go find these feminine men who are in their feelings, who don't So they and I do this podcast every weekend, and I talk to very young women, 18, 19, 20, and I always ask them their traits, like, what do you want in a man? And all the traits they always talk about, I want vulnerability, I want him to be handsome, I want him to be able to talk good, to talk about his feelings. They're describing the Disney Channel Prince Charming.
Yeah. But don't you feel like social media has ruined a lot for women, like in their expectations, like what they're looking for in a man, because you have all this facade, like all this fake. Social media is really fake, like Instagram.
I think it has created a delusion of what they can really attract in real life.
Yes.
So they have their standards of what they want out of men. What social media has done is it's like put that on steroids. So like they're not realistic of what they want. And so that's why they all want that. And it's also for men as well, because I talk to men all the time. Like a lot of these guys, like they want like an Instagram model woman. It's like, come on, man. look, you want an Instagram?
Yeah, it's not just
you want an Instagram man. Yeah.
Yeah, not just an Instagram model, but they also want to display the life of status, right? So then it conflates the actual value that you have to build through hard work and through hardship.
Yeah.
Like the way that I look at a lot of youth, and I deal with a lot of youth coming through construction as a project manager, is that there should not be there. I should be valuable as a man regardless of whether I've gone through hardship, and hardship should not make me build my value. That's a very weak-minded thing for a man to have. You cannot build value unless you go through hardship. It's plain and simple. You learn to discipline yourself. You learn so many great things, actively communication, all that stuff through going through hardship. But now social media has allowed people to just put out a highlight reel, and everyone perceives that as their day-to-day life, 24/7. And this whole thing with the vulnerability conversation, it's to me, it's a sick fantasy.
Do it.
It's honestly, it's a sick fantasy. because essentially what we are telling young men is that you are more valuable as a weak man than you are a strong man. And we're not talking about physical strength that you can go and beat 20 guys in a club at night. Someone who has good, strong values, who built it through hardship and accepts the consequences of his actions. Yes, I was a dumb kid. I slept around with so many women. I did some very shitty things. I accept that. Now I need to build from that. This whole vulnerability thing is, oh, how was your childhood?
Yeah, it's fetishizing
the victim mindset.
Yeah.
Victim mindset.
And the answer is, oh yeah, my childhood was very bad. My parents went home. To me as a man, I look at that. Fuck, I didn't have the best childhood, but I'm a human adult now. I have a family. My priority should be my family, not sit here and actively participate in a conversation where I am putting myself back in the situation where I was 10, 20 years ago. To me, that has no benefit other than I don't want my kids to go through that. So therefore I'm going to do the opposite or be better than my parents. That's where the actual value is. But it's almost as I was hurt. So many things happened to me as a child. How does that solve problems? And that seems to be the vulnerability that majority of young females are after. Oh, how hurt are you? What was the extent of the pain that was for you? Why does it matter? Shouldn't the thing that matter most is that I've moved on from that I have built some value and learned lessons from it? But no, the emphasis is how hurt are you, and to what extent was that hurt affected your life?
You know, it's funny. On the last show, I didn't know the title, so I didn't say it. I only know the title in Portuguese. I didn't say it. But this is called the Beauty and the Beast syndrome. Like, women want a beast, a monstrous beast that shows them vulnerability, because that shows that as powerful as he is, as rich as he is, the strength they need, the monster needs her. So they fetishize the vulnerability of the monster because they need to feel needed by the big bad monster. Is like the history of the Beauty and the Beast, true and true. So if he was a super powerful monster that was rich at the castle and he had no problem, she would be useless. But now that you show the weakness and the vulnerability, now she knows her place and know that he cares about her because he needs her help. So that's why women fetishize many emotions. It's not because they really want to do something to solve it. It's just
you don't want emotional men.
Yeah,
because emotional men you can never trust, and if you can never trust an emotional man, you can never love that man.
And it's easier to deal with an emotional man in terms of manipulation. And when I say manipulation, it's not in a cruel, bad way. It's like you want some control over your ex-spouse. And if the guy is stoic, you never know what he thinks. You never know what he's. It's very difficult for a woman. She reflects that on, he doesn't love me because I'm the one who cries and he never cries. No, it's exactly the opposite. He doesn't show weakness because he knows that our family, the strength of the leader, if I'm a good leader and I lead the army, my men are going to run through a wall if they see me run through a wall. But if I show weakness, those men that are behind me, they're not going to support me. They're not going to be encouraged. They are not going to be fearless. So that's the problem. We usually take that to relationships. Most women, and even an ex-girlfriend of mine said this a lot of times. Every time she was very emotional, she would cry when we had problems. And she'll say, you don't love me because you don't open up about your problems. But that's not the thing. That's because she just wanted for me to vent about the problems, because she wanted to feel needed. She wanted to feel that I love her, and she wanted to feel that she has something that she only is hers and not from everybody else. So she wanted to feel special, let's say.
Yeah, and what Daniela said about hardship, like, you know, for men to be able to, when bad things happen to him, for him to just to be stoic and be able to respond effectively and find a solution, that's a habit that we have to learn as a man. It's not something that we're just born with. And the problem I see today with today's society, especially the Disney fairy tale, telling men to be feminine, telling men to be emotional, they're not learning the crucial habits that's going to benefit them in a relationship, especially when it's that responsibility. It's time for them to bear that responsibility to raise a family. Because as you know, there's a lot of relationships are not like on social media. There's a lot of shit that goes through. There's a lot of hardships. There's a lot of failure. And for a lot of women, you need to rely on a competent man to be able to handle that pressure, that burden, that responsibility, right? So the thing is, like I said, I've gone through a lot of shit in my life. And from those struggles, I've learned and mastered the skill that when bad shit happens, I have to, I have to be able to put my emotions to the side. Doesn't matter how I feel. What matters is what can I do today to improve my situation, to help the people I really love and care about. Because talking about my feelings, like Daniela and Claude said, talking about our feelings, we can talk about it all day long. But if that doesn't improve our situation, then what's the point of talking, right? So I see it today that a lot of women today, they want their men to be like the person in the Disney Channel, but then that's the type of men they select and they attract. But then they get surprised when real life responsibility comes along, especially a child, a family, bills, kids, and they wonder, and then they act surprised like these men fall under the pressure and run away from their responsibility. It's because they're never going through hardship to learn that skill, or they weren't raised around healthy, strong, masculine men to teach them how to be a man. So that's one of the most dangerous things I just see in today's dating culture is the very traits that women are looking for is one of the things that's going to cause them to attract weak men and not be able to attract stronger men. All right. Yeah. So, Liv, anything on the last thoughts before we conclude the podcast? Any last thoughts?
No, I agree. I agree with all of that. I feel like in my younger years, I attracted weak men because you always feel like you can help. I had the mentality like I can help this person. I feel like I was a little bit more stable as a young adult. And my dad would always tell me, Liv, you can't help everyone, and I don't know why I was attracted to people like that, but I can say as I grew older, I definitely appreciated a man who, like I will say, like my husband, I mean, we met not even like looking to date anyone. We just randomly met and it worked. And he, I don't even know, like you asked like qualities earlier to the other lady that was on. You had asked what her qualities were. I feel like like women are so different because when she was answering, I did feel like I was like, it's a trick question. Don't say they're right. Don't fall into it.
I'm not trying. I'm not trying to trick anybody.
No, you are real. No. When you saw her,
I'm asking her,
when you saw her say 6 in the height, you knew you had her. When she said 6 in the height, you knew you had her.
Don't do it. But it's a.
It was a legitimate question.
Do it.
No, I said it was a legitimate question.
Yeah.
To honestly say, I feel like I went through everything I went through in my past, and so did my husband, to find each other where we are today. I feel like we were really blessed to have each other because I feel like I have all the qualities that y'all talked about and all the stuff that you feel like women look for and men kind of look for in a woman. But I feel like I have like a strong man, but also an emotional man, a man who communicates while he's changing the oil in my car, like I just feel like I have a well-grounded person, and I would say I'm blessed, like to find
you are blessed.
If you have both versions of Clark Kent, the Superman, you are blessed because most men can only be one. Most men can only have the one side.
But he has gone through like struggle too, you know what I mean, to get where he is today,
Yes, you learned that skill. Yeah. All right. Yeah, and I know you said something about attracting weak men. I know I saw this on a podcast with Jordan Peterson. A lot of women who choose weak men is because they can control those men. They don't want to be with the strong man.
Yep.
They don't want to be with the strong man because they know the strong man has standards himself. So he can't handle a man coming into life and leading them because they want to be in control.
There's a big problem on the Black community. Women getting weak men because they know if they get the man that they want, they will be tossed on the side because the man wants Like if the man is weaker, they can be bad mouthing. They can be unruly. They can talk.
Yeah,
whatever, because he's sleeping on
no
my
accountability.
couch. Yeah,
no
that's
accountability.
the thing.
Yeah, because a man that's strong and be a leader, like he's gonna hold these women accountable. But yeah, for all those watching this right now, thank you so much for joining us on this live podcast. Thank you so much. I see you guys, man. You guys are going hard in the live chat.
Yeah, next program is about spirituality. I'm not going to be deep when we talk about it because I don't have the patience to talk about that.
Yeah, Daniela, they're triggered today. Extra triggered today, Daniela.
The whole conversation about vulnerability, right? It's one that it's such a confusing topic, and if you're someone who actually haven't been in a good relationship, to find out that it's actually not vulnerability, it's just effective communication. People fantasize about vulnerability because they don't understand how it is and why it is a thing that men use when they're in relationship. It's not vulnerability. I'm showing you that I'm actively communicating with you effectively. You know where I am emotionally, but I'm no longer there in the sense that I am actively looking for solutions and problem solving. And majority of the comments that's come through, vulnerability is showing that you've overcome your emotional trauma, your emotional baggage. Then that's strength. That's not vulnerability. To be vulnerable is to risk getting hurt. And if you're actively talking about emotional trauma that you've overcome emotionally and mastered control or some form of control, that's not vulnerability. That's a man with value who has strong value and has learned to move on. If you find someone who constantly talk about his emotions and never solving problem, you will find it very hard to trust that man, especially when it comes down to very important things like having family, having children, moving into a house. That man will not stand out in the world to protect you and your family. He's so occupied with talking about his emotions, he won't face the world. That's the whole thing about vulnerability that I don't get.
You know what's funny? It's very different. They are looking at the topic on a woman's lens, because when men tell other men to open up, is I know you have problems, come talk to me and I will help you solve your problems. Women look to their lenses of they're talking to their girlfriends. Oh, she trusts me. She told me about her secrets. She trusts me. They all look at the lens of she said something that is a secret or is something that is make her look weak. So I'm valuable to her. And they try to get that and trying to mutate that to the guy side. But the guys don't work like that. When me start to you go, Will.
I wouldn't even dare to say it's a woman, because you've got an example here of Liv, who's got a very great relationship with a male. It's just feminists, fourth wave feminism or third wave feminism, who think that these, and it unfortunately is majority of them are women, and therefore the narrative is usually to bring up women. But here's an example of Liv, and I think there were a couple of other women who came on the podcast who have healthy relationship with men, effective communication, which is a big must for women in long-term relationship. And then you have the other women who haven't been in good relationship, blaming a lot of things on this whole narrative of vulnerability. Men aren't vulnerable, and men aren't being essentially women in a sense, not being emotional. That get it that confuses the different traits that are meant to be complementary to each other, rather than a compound. Relationship aren't meant to be, I'm here with the same value as you do in a sense, so therefore we're going to succeed. No, I have values that complement yours. You have values that complement mine. That's how long-term relationships form over time, because we know that we need each other in the long term. If we had it all, why would I need you and why would you need me? But we know we lack in areas that the other person brings to the table. Therefore, that's why relationships work the way that they are. Unhealthy relationship are two people competing for the same values.
No, I completely agree.
Hey, real quick, Liv, like, do you have friends or, you don't have to say names, but we're single and they find it really, really hard to attract men and the quality men. Do you see a different mentality that they have compared to yours of how, because you have a good man, a quality man, and there's a way that you behave, and there's a different type of mentality of how you treat him and the way you see him and view him. Do you see that when you talk to your friends who are very independent and they can attract a man to save their life? Do you see a different type of viewpoint perspective of how they see men and how you see men?
Yeah, it's very different. And I also feel like the women that I know who are single that have trouble attracting men, they often, like we talked about before we got on live, they come off very independent. And it's great. It's great to be an independent woman. But when you are constantly throwing that in a man's face and you just you can't allow a man to be a man for you and to be needed, it's a big turnoff for them. That man will value you as a independent woman if you can allow yourself to be soft for them in their time of need as well. Like, I just feel like women who constantly say, oh, I'm independent. It's great. I'm independent. You know what I mean? But me and my husband get along really well and have come to find like comfort in each other because we can allow ourselves to be soft with each other. I know when to let him lead. I know when to let him, control things, and he knows when to let me do that. And it's just a compromise. You compromise with each other.
Yeah.
When you when
you said that, this is how I felt in my head.
It's
he's preaching facts right there.
Straight facts, yeah. And this is the other thing about independence that the single women who seek strong and independent lifestyle don't get is majority of the good men who have good values usually let their women be independent anyway after having children. Majority of women who are married or in relationship with good men control the wealth of the family. Because men are so busy doing, pursuing endeavors and whatnot.
A lot of protectors.
And not only that, if we were in control of our own finances, mate, I would have a garage full of toys that does nothing to me.
No curtains, no curtains, one
no curtain, no bed sheet. It's why majority of the females who are in great relationship, if you look at their house, it's very decorative. It looks nice. It has everything that you expect out of a nice home, and you feel the woman in the house. That's why there's a saying in kids when the mother leaves the house and they're with their father, there's always that thing that's missing. But if the father's away from the house, or the mother's there, the kids don't give a shit until dad comes home. Then they remember he exists. But if mum leaves, it's not the same. Mum's not here. That's the power of women that, for some reason, we think that it's such a weak thing to compare to.
Yeah.
When have we ever come to a society where a woman that is so comfortable in her ability to be a woman, to bear children and to look after children, is comparable to money? Like that's one of the things that I don't know whether I'm old school or not. I feel like I live in the wrong era, but that's how I see it. My woman can go out and either study or stay at home. Those are the independence that we give the women we choose to be with. However, it's, oh, you're so weak because you stay at home and look after children. You tell me how you can raise the next generation to be good leaders. You tell me how that's weak.
And it's funny, Taniela?
Yeah.
Most women are jealous of, they might critique it, but they are jealous of the woman that has a nice house, stays at home, takes care of the kids, has like usually it doesn't have to wake at 6 a.m. to go to work. And men, usually when they see that the other guy is taking care of his woman like that, he's proud of it. He's like, oh, how can I get this? How can I aspire? Like when men see other men successful with a big house or with a big car, or they have the means to have a stay-at-home mom and they take care of the kids, they start to think, how can I do this myself? Women usually, when they see a stay-at-home mom, they start projecting. Oh, why don't you have? Are you not ashamed of living of your husband? Is there any problem with you? And that's the thing. The major turnoff about this, to me, is that women that usually scream, "I'm strong and independent," are not. That's like the first red flag. When you say, "I'm strong and independent," you are strong and independent from who? I know you don't have the money to be strong and independent, like resourceful for more than 6 months. I know that you are strong and independent from what? And they usually can't explain that without saying man, patriarchy, something like that. That's very telling about their independence.
Okay. All right. No worries. Thank you so much, fellas. Thank you so much, Liv. To conclude the podcast, I would say thank you so much, Liv, for participating tonight.
You're welcome.
I think you're the first woman in 49 weeks, 49 episodes to say I agree with you guys. So you're the first.
Why did they run off, by the way? Do you know why she ran off? Because I had something to tell her. Just one real little thing. She just told
real quick.
Yeah, real quick. She told she knows a lot of women that can have sex detached, and the question I wanted to ask her is, how many partners she had to get to that place? Because women that usually get to that place that are desensitized to sex at 30, 40 guys, and they can do it, but they are crushed inside. Yeah. So that was I was wanting to ask her. So
it's all good. Yeah. And then Qaze, if you're watching this right now, thank you so much for joining us and be part of this podcast. Liv, what's your final thoughts about tonight's show? What did you take from it? And how can people find you? What's your social media panels? People want to find you so they can support you in the things that you do. Go ahead.
I think it was interesting. I learned a lot of the way the male thinks on certain topics. And I think that it was safe. You made it safe for us to agree to disagree on certain topics. So I like that. And I just thank you for having me on. And you guys can find me on at Live Her Way, Live with 2 V's, if you guys want to follow me.
All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys, Daniela and Claudia. Always a pleasure being part of this conversation. And for all those people in the chat, go find a good man.
Go find a spiritual man.
Man. Yeah, if you had a good man, you wouldn't be watching this. Anyways, no worries. Thank you so much, guys. You guys have